And live.
All right, cool. Hey, community, how's it going?
Hey,
Welcome
guys.
to another Tuesday education stream.
Yeah. So, what are we
And-
doing in this education stream?
We're looking at a cover system, believe it or not. That is what we are looking at today. So for those who don't know what a cover system is basically a way of moving in accordance to like obstacles in the world. So you would, like, there are a lot of games that use cover. You would think like Gears of War would be my number one that I think of. Or there's like Rainbow Six, a lot of shooters like Grand Theft Auto, pretty much most modern day games have some kind of form of cover, really, when you think about it. I think even the new Assassin's Creed Unity had cover in it, which was like a first time for an Assassin's Creed title, actually. Unity had it too. So yeah, actually Black Flag had it. Anyway, that's a tangent, but cover is really important. A lot of games include it. It's like, this idea of cat and mouse, right, where you're able to actually hide from your enemies. And this is something I've wanted to do ever since I got on to Project Spark, was work on a cover system, and that was my first world that I published. So it's gonna be kind of cool to kind of share some really basic stuff with you guys, and hopefully everybody will be able to follow along. So yeah, and disclaimer: this is like the way that I would do it for something simple. If you want to do something more complicated, or add shooting mechanisms into that, we're not going to cover that today. But if you want to like shoot from cover and stuff, you'd be able to do stuff and take this wherever you want. But just know that this is like my version of it, so feel free to improve upon it. In fact, please do. That'd be awesome. But we'll see what we can cover in an hour. There's a lot of things you can do a lot further than an hour, but so let's get started. So let me first just show, I have this little scene here, Bill. Let me just for real quick, we'll go back to normal so we can see everything, but I made a little scene, and I'll go into test. So what we're actually doing is, so you'll notice there's a little quick like camera initialization that's like intentional, and you'll see why that happens. But so all we're doing today is a cover system that allows us to approach a wall like these guys here, and we'll move to it, and then we'll be actually in cover. And then as we are along this obstacle moving around, it'll actually detect an edge and won't let us actually go far. And then when you hit the edge, you'll actually be able to peek. You'll be able to peek actually like past it. The camera will actually move. And then when you go back, it'll actually come in. So this hallway here, we could like, if there's a guard patrolling or something, we'd be able to look down it and we'd say, oh, never mind, I don't want to go that way. And then you can just exit cover. So, and I want to see, yes, they can see top corner. Okay, I just want to make sure. We'll use that. So that is what we're going to be looking at. There's a lot. This is like a really good place to start, and then you can add like, from here you could do a jump to the next wall, where you go that way, or you could do a corner turn and things like that. But we won't cover those. We're going to just cover kind of entering and exiting cover, how to do the camera correctly, and that's basically it. And that actually will probably fill up our hour quite well. So let's get started.
Cool.
So I'll go jump back to edit here. Let us put on some day clear so we can just see.
That dungeon in pitch black with lights looks so good.
Oh yeah. Actually, really, I was just playing around with this, like, just arting it. And I really like this corner, like that ruined corner.
Yeah.
It actually turned out really cool, and I haven't seen anybody do that.
Yeah, one of you guys do it.
Yeah, one of you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. So what I'm going to do, so this stream, we're going to actually build this together, which is going to be a lot more fun. So let me move my example guy over here. Let me turn everything off. Brain, we're going to make it inactive. I'm going to do the same here for this logic cube, which I will explain what this is in just a second. Okay, and that should be it. Let me just make sure everything's done. Yep, perfect. I'm looking at nothing. Okay, so let's bring in a just standard male peasant character. I probably passed him. No, I did not. All right. So this guy's going to be our guinea pig. And let's make sure he just gets a standard third-person adventure brain on him. That's what we'll do. And we'll call this guy cover system Guinea. That's how you spell guinea, right?
Sure.
I don't know. He's our guinea pig.
It's how I spell guinea.
I don't want to know. So first, let's go in here. We're going to delete a bunch of things from this guy's brain. We actually really don't need a team for this. We don't need the follow camera in here. Don't need the display. We'll keep left move stick. A press, we'll get rid of it on jump. We don't need an attack right now. No shoot, and that. So really, we can pretty much clear this guy's brain out. Let's just do that. Okay, so we'll start fresh here. No brain on this guy. And first thing that we're going to do is I actually kind of like to, I'm kind of a pre-planner. So I'm going to actually pre-plan and just kind of get my brain pages like how I want them to set up. So you guys can start thinking about what I'm heading towards. I'm just going to let's throw an ignore here on page 2 and page 3. Okay. So back on page 1, let's give this page a title. I'm going to use an @ symbol, which I always like to name with my brain pages. That just allows me to find them faster in the text variable slots, and it makes it me so I know that that's what it is. And we'll just call this standard. Perfect. And next page, we're going to name this move to cover. Move. This is hard to do with just one hand. To cover. Okay. And third page is going to be just cover. So if you can that gives you an idea of how we're going to do this. We're going to have a normal page, and then we're going to have a page that is just our transition into cover, and then we're going to actually have a separate page for cover. The reason I like to use pages, you could do like booleans and all this other stuff to organize it. I like pages because the controls vary so widely from when you're in cover and not in cover, and it doesn't make sense to try to keep this all on one page, basically.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's why it's actually transitioning. And like a move to cover, for when you like initiate that, you like take control actually away from the player for a little bit. So that's why it even has its own like transitional page. It's kind of like the same way that if you remember from Steve-O's thing, that he has like the orbit set time where it's like that small thing, but it's a transitional page. So perfect. Okay. So now with that set up, first thing, we're going to go back to standard here, and I don't need that anymore. So let's go standard, we're going to just do normal controls. Let's do left stick move. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to actually use A to actually go in and out of cover. But how is he going to know that cover is in front of them? And the system that I like best is actually going to be using Raycast as a sensor.
Yay, Raycast!
Yay, Raycast! They're really the best. All right. So we're going to Raycast. Let us go. I like to define as much as possible on a Raycast. So let's just make sure we're saying from center of my guy to... We're not going to do 2. We're going to do direction forward.
And quick recap, if you don't know what raycasting is, it draws this invisible line out from you, or from wherever.
I'll draw it so we can see it too.
Yeah, and it looks for when it hits something. So right now, you're drawing a line outwards with a length of 2 meters. So if you hit anything within 2 meters, well, now if you only hit an object within 2 meters, something will happen. Yep. And you get to say what that something is.
Yep. So I'm raycasting from my center, direction forward, and this is going to be my forward. So the character's forward, and then we're going to say we're going to draw it just so we can see it. The length of 2, so it'll only go a distance of 2 meters, and it's only going to look for objects right now. And let's just look at that in test mode here real quick. Oh, I forgot he doesn't have a camera.
Oh.
I'll throw a follow on until we get to the point of adding the camera. Follow camera. Okay. So it's going to be really faint, so hopefully you guys can see it on stream. Maybe I'll come over here and you can see it in Empty World. I can see it, there you go. So that's that stick sticking out of him there for 2 meters. And it'll look for detecting when he hits an object. So there it would actually be evaluating as true. And then it would be false. So how do we decide what's going to be cover? So I already went in here on all these little objects and actually added a single line of code. This is the way I like to define cover. You can go in here. So I have just once a global object set, which here I just have cover, increments by me. And that'll add this object to the cover set. The reason for that, and I like to have that control, is you're going to have a lot of objects in your world that you're not going to want to be able to cover on, right? Like, this corner, right? This is not going to be something that's going to be easy for me to, like, cover on or even make sense for me to cover on. So I don't want, like, this to evaluate as being a cover. I can't do all objects. So I like to have control by going in each individual object. And you'd be able to, you know, maybe... Depends on what kind of game. If you have cover everywhere, then maybe it'd be different, but I like being able to signal them out like that. In these end pieces, too, same thing, cover. So...
That makes sense. Most games out there have, like, specific items in the world that count as cover, so they probably are doing something
Sandbags.
very similar to that. Yeah, exactly. Or, like, you'll go in, and I'm playing a lot of XCOM, Enemy Unknown.
Oh,
and
really?
So, like,
I love
so,
XCOM.
like, you know, they just find cover and drop down, but, like, it's very strategic. Obviously, this one's cover, and obviously this one isn't, so this makes it kind of easy.
Yeah. So if I add that global set, global object set right here, it'll only evaluate as true when I'm actually hitting a object part of that global set.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see that here now.
Something you're calling cover.
Yep.
Sweet.
Exactly. So we'll do a display. So the point of this, right, is we don't want to, we want a button prompt when we approach cover. That gives us an option. Very similar to Gears of War, right? Once you're close enough, you'll be able to actually move to it. So display, let's go to object gallery picker, and we're just going to do A, and come on to icons, there we go. And we're going to display this at the bottom of the screen, and we'll make sure we can all read it. So let's do large. So now, when I come up here we go. So I'm close enough to actually move to this cover now. And Raycast is also going to be very powerful because we can get some really interesting outputs from it. And that's going to be very important for where we decide on what to move to. So now that I have this Raycast, I can actually define some variables I'm going to take. So first one I'm going to do is hit position. And second one I'm going to do is hit position normal. There we go. And I'm going to literally steal these from the outputs of that Raycast. So hit position is that point where that Raycast hits that object. And hit surface normal is going to be, this is kind of some vector math, but it's the perpendicular line to the plane of that object's surface. So that's why it's a normal, and it's a surface normal. So if you have your object here, I'll turn it at the angle. So if I have a Raycast coming in this way at an angle, whatever's perpendicular to the surface at that point is going to be the new normal. So it'd be a line going out that way. So hopefully that makes sense. Why do we need these things? This hit position is going to tell me where I need to move to. The hit surface normal is going to be the direction that I want my character to face when I hit that cover. So that's why that's going to be really important. And now I need that. Once this is actually evaluating as true, I'm going to give myself that option to actually hit A. So let's go. Where am I at? Controls. No. It moved because I'm going to just search for it. A pressed. There we go. It was probably right in front of me. And let's see, actually I'm going to want these guys to evaluate after I hit A. And so A pressed, I'm going to do this, going to do that, and I am going to switch pages now. I'm going to I'm going to switch over to my move to cover page right there. That's why I like that @ symbol. Really fast to find and make sure I have everything correct. Okay, so before we do that, we need to talk a little about giving an actual camera onto this guy. Well, actually, we'll do that in a second. We can wait. So let's move on to this page. So what we need to do now is decide, okay, basically I need this guy to move toward that hit position I just defined, right? And a couple of things on that, I like to put directly. And I don't want to make sure he gets there like totally all the way. So I want to make sure I set my minimum distance down to 0, or else he'll get kind of just like in the area. He won't go exactly to that point. And then we'll also let's see here, and yeah, that should work. Okay. Now we only want this to happen when he is within a distance, when he's basically too far away. So we're gonna make sure that we use a sensor here, and it'll be distance 2. So distance 2, and that is gonna be hit position again. When that is greater than, and this is going to be kind of dependent. It's going to decide, like, this one, it really is going to depend on the objects that you are deciding to cover on, I've noticed. As you, like, mix and match some of these distances, like how close you want to be before you decide to hug the wall, it's going to make a difference. I think the number I went with here was 0.4. So let's go with that. We'll adjust that if not. So if he's greater than 0.4 meters away, he's going to move toward that. And then we're going to have to do something else when he actually approaches it, or when he gets closer. So else, we're going to set some other stuff going on here. So else, he is going to, and let me do this. My character, first thing they're going to do is move. They're going to switch the orientation, right? The character is going to face with their back toward the cover. And you can do like a fancy turn, although it gets kind of messy. I actually really just like to reset its his orientation like immediately. And actually, I think a lot of games do that, and it looks fairly fine. I want to make that too big of a deal to try to perfect that. So let's go here to forward. So my character's forward is going to equal now this guy, the hit surface normal that we just saved. Perfect. Okay. And let me real quick, let's give my guy an option at any point to return back to his standard brain. I need an exit strategy. Always important as you're testing. Switch page, and we're going to go back to values here. We're going to go back to standard. All right, cool. So let's see how much I did right. Okay, there's that, and I move. And then I can exit back out. So one thing now, this is why we're going to do some interesting things with the camera. And mainly the main reason is I decided to do page switching between that. But page switching, for anybody who knows, does not equal a very consistent camera. Especially like if you want to use a follow camera. And this is something that has always bothered me, because I actually really like follow camera and being able to orbit around your character. And I couldn't figure out how to use a follow camera the first time I did a cover system over a year ago. So I ended up like making hard to find cameras that like forced you in a certain angle, which was okay, it depends. But I like, you know, you should be able to go in here, right, and like look around and get different angles. Like obviously, right, like your character is facing against a wall. You should be able to see the room if you want to, like he's looking at. So that's why I think keeping a consistent follow cam is actually pretty important. So yeah, so just to show one more time, so like the camera abandons him as soon as I switch the page. So he's like no longer has that follow camera. We're just like sitting there until I go back, and then I get that dramatic hits right behind him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right, so the system I actually have is by having a separate object, and there's a reason for that, because I actually manipulate that object. So we're just going to use a good old logic cube. Logi the logic cube here. That is his name, and that is what we're going to call him. Okay.
I wanted to go with Reginald, but I guess I can go with Logi.
Logi. Everyone has to name their logic cube Logis now. So first thing I want to do is, as we're changing him around, let's make him visible right now, so we can just keep an eye and see what he's doing. And what I'm going to have him do is he's going to actually be like on my character, and the camera is going to be based on him as opposed to my actual character.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be a trick, yeah. So follow camera is going to be on him. A couple things first we need to set though is his position. It's just going to be equal. It will, so the position thing, it'll be like one frame behind my character. Mm-hmm. It's for our physics case. That's why the position has to update after. But actually for a camera, you don't really notice it. So we're going to go, oh, this is a good point too. Let me do global player, and I'm going to set my guy as a global player. And position center. And we're also going to set my forward on this. Forward equals global player forward. All right, cool. And then let's just jump in this guy. And we're going to do once. Values global player equals me. All right. So for this is something I think we say almost every education stream, but always really good to do set a variable, preferably global if you only end up having to take a single player game, as being something that any object in your world can reference that's going to be your hero or your player for the game.
It's one of the
It
first.
doesn't have to be a hero; it can be an antagonist. Those are fun too to play the bad guy, but
Global bad guy.
yeah, global bad guy. So now at that point, it'll understand, hey, this is the global player that I'm talking about is that guy. So let's first just see what that does. Let me make sure I take off my follow camera on here. Okay. And one last thing I need to do, because I do have that sandwiched on him, I do want to make sure that this is ignoring prop collision. Okay. So this little keeps following me around, and it won't be visible when we actually go into play space. But one thing we'll now notice here is when I go to cover, I actually keep my follow camera as I switch pages.
Yeah, that's nice, because then you can do extra stuff with that.
I can do extra
object.
stuff with the object, yep. Like taking a peek around a corner while I'm in cover. Which will be what we show off here. Okay. So now that we actually have a camera, right? So that's all we're gonna need right now. Let us switch that to being off. Okay. 24. All right, we're doing good on time.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you do next with that camera, because I'm wondering why you're not attaching it to the player.
Because I'm moving it off the player.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Exactly. So yep, I actually will adjust its position once I reach an edge and allow me to peek around it.
For those of you in chat who are wondering, there's the 1 frame lag between the position of that thing and the position of your player. That's why we have attach, where if you have attach, instead of setting a position each frame, attach makes it so there's no one frame lag that you saw when Thomas was running kind of fast.
Yeah, and attach was, if you want something to stay, attach is the way to go. I'm going to actually change its position through code, and then at that point, right, it makes sense to stick with what I'm doing.
Right. Plus, it's just something that has the camera, so 1 position lag isn't bad.
Yep.
Or 1 frame lag isn't bad.
Exactly. I am going to, before I forget, because I always forget, I'm going to do my also variable clear. So anytime I come back to this page, I want to make sure that I'm not keeping extraneous variables around. And actually, when I clear, I usually just clear it with effector 0. Is the way I like to think about it. So anytime I come back to this page, that'll reset these variables for me. All right. So this is now where I oriented back to the hit surface normal. And at this point, I can also, let's see, do I need to do anything else here? Probably. We'll see if I forget something. But for right now, we're going to switch on to the fun and interesting page, which is cover. So one more page switch. We're going to go to cover, and that is this page. All right. Also, for the reason I throw those ignore comments on when I'm planning it out is if you don't have any tile on that page, it won't save your rename page. I don't know if you've ever had that, where you go to rename a page, but if you don't put a single, it won't keep it. So that's why I do that.
That's right.
Okay, so on cover, first thing I do, let's do an exit strategy. So if I press B again, it's just gonna be the same line. So let's just steal it. There we go. All right. So now in cover, First thing about being in cover is we're going to restrict our movement left and right. And along, and now that our surface, we're like perfectly on the perpendicular, we're going to be able to actually move this way. So let's do left stick, we're going to move. So whenever I use left stick here, we're going to move my character. Move. Now, a couple interesting things here. We're going to use a lot of modifiers. So we want to move left and right. That restricts it to that on my character, left and right movement. We also want to do strafing, so my character always will face the same direction. Yay, tile description. And let's also not do toward. We're going to do at speed. Cover, you don't want to be as fast as you normally would be moving. For right now, 0.5 should work just great. And let's look else here. I know I'm probably forgetting some world relative. No. Nope, that should be okay for now. All right, let's just take a look and see what that does. Okay, so there we are. Now we should be able to move along. Now, right, what's going to end up happening is I go, woo! I just can go right off the cover. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we need to actually be able to detect when I come up to an edge or not. So let us add that now. So that's when it gets a little bit more complicated, and it gets really cool.
And, by the way, I'm pretty sure what you're about to do to show, like, when you get to an edge, how to stop from moving, you can apply the same thing, keep you from, like, falling off cliffs or things like that.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. This is actually, what Tom's about to show you is a really super useful way of stopping a person from moving before they fall off something or before they run past a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Okay, yep, that's right. So what I'm going to be doing is when I'm in cover, I'm actually going to be doing more raycasting, and it's going to be on both sides of my character. So I'm going to be looking for an edge on my right side and an edge on my left side. So let's get those raycasts down for sensors. Raycast. And we're going to do a couple of things here again. So we're going to do from. It's actually really funny. So I like to use sockets on my character, at least for something like this simple. If you want to be more like really hard to find about it and don't have it depend on how your character animates, then you would want to actually like set a position from a raycast is happening. I've done that before. I've actually had like almost like a fake rig like that with like a bunch of primitive cubes around my character that each had like their raycast and stuff, and it was probably not performant great, but it you know, for our purposes a socket works great, but sockets can be a little unpredictable.
I believe it's in the positions folder.
Yeah, you're right. Position socket. So I actually forearms, it's really funny. So when a character is strafing, his left forearm is dramatically different in the animation, and so like it would make him stutter when he went to an edge on his left. So I actually ended up using hips, which worked really good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So raycast from left hip. I know there's like just little nuances. And we
Position.
Needed, position. And then we need to do direction, and we're gonna go backwards. Backward. All right, cool. And we also we don't want a huge length, right? Obviously, if we're like in a room, there's gonna be cover around us or down a hallway or something. We don't want a limitless like thing, because then we'll always be detecting like constantly, and we actually want to detect when we're not going to be on cover, so like it makes sense to limit that length. I think a good one here was around 0.5 or something to that effect. And we also want to be looking for objects. Yes, okay. Now we're going to double that line. Actually, we're going to wait because we want to do 2 underneath here. So when I am raycasting, we're going to, and this evaluates as true. So right now, this evaluates as true when I do in fact hit something. So when I do in fact hit something, that means I'm still on my cover, which means I have not hit an edge yet. If I'm going for my left hip, I'm going to consider that my left edge. So I'm going to say left edge is equal to false. False. I know some people will think certain things should be right and certain things should be left, especially because it's like you have your character's way, and then you have the way the camera faces, which makes everything inverse. So, and you'll notice with when I get to like controls for the left stick and stuff, things can get a little weird. We're gonna do else. This is gonna evaluate as true. Perfect. Okay, and we're gonna copy that line, and we're gonna switch the hip we're looking at. Let us look at the right hip and right edge instead. Perfect. Okay, and let us draw these guys so we can see them in action. And we can take off draw on here because we understand that one now. Okay, so this isn't, I haven't put anything yet that restricts my movement. I just want to make sure that we can check out those raycasts. So there's those two right there coming out. So what we're trying to do is as soon as that raycast plops out, right, like there, you can see it. As soon as it will hit, it'll evaluate as being true now that I've hit a left edge. And same on that side. 0.5 might be too small. We'll up that up just in case. One thing that's really nice with dealing with the dungeon pieces for this is everything's very straight and modular, which makes this way easier.
That's true.
Like, I'm very much covering right now, like, that was a pun too, covering. Very much covering, like, very, like, straight edge, like, easy cover situations where you're only, like, moving left and right. You can also make it where you're able to actually like rotate like around a curved object and all those kind of things too. Like, so if you have like a wall that's like that, you can actually have your character like move along like that, which is cool. But that's a little bit more complicated, so we're not going to cover it in our hour. But yeah. So right now, Dungeon is like a fantastic, like if you're going to use this system, highly recommend the Dungeon pieces. That's secretly what I've been wanting to do for a long time. All right, so on here now, what we need to do is left and right stick. This one actually, we only want this to happen when both of these guys are evaluating as false. So let's throw that on. A shortcut one, doesn't take as many code tiles as just to say not left edge, as opposed to left edge equals false, and then we'll also do not right edge. Okay. All right. And then what we need to do is, now that our movement's going to be restricted, when we come up and hit any of these evaluates as true, we're not going to be able to do anything. So we actually need to be able to have a plan to actually get back. So when I actually have a right edge, what's going to happen? And we'll do, okay, so right edge.
Roding Woozy in chat brings up a interesting question where, is there a reason you're using both raycasts all the time and not only one, depending on which way you're moving? Which you technically could do.
You could restrict it for sure, yeah.
You could say when left stick is negative, then you only raycast in one way. When left stick is positive, you raycast in the other way.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you could clean up and try to make it more like performant for sure. I do another thing, like a strategy that I do is as soon as both of the right edge and left edge evaluate as true, then I know I'm no longer in cover at all. So that's like another way of like I should be back on standard page because, and like a good reason for that is like if I want to add a movement that like leaps out of cover, if I keep both of those raycasts there, right, and like I say like after I leap in a countdown timer, right? So I should be back in cover now. But if I leaped and there was no cover there to land, it immediately will be like, okay, both of those evaluate not true, or both evaluate as true now, take me out of cover. So I've used that before.
Got it. That makes sense too.
Yep.
Plus, it's also a bit easier to follow.
Yep.
We want this to be approachable for intermediate people, even beginner people, advanced people.
Exactly. And this, I was already worried that this might be, it's a lot of vectors and raycasting, which is intimidating, but I know it's just, I think this is like a good intro, I think, and then you can kind of take it where you want to. And maybe we'll do a part 2 or something, who knows. So that line that I just was explained, so like right edge and left edge, it would immediately, as soon as those happened, it would switch me back to brain. Switch page, standard. So that's like a way that I know like I'm doing something wrong, I need to get back. If I'm basically not uncover anymore. If those are both as true.
That makes sense.
Yep. Okay. So now when this is true, what I need to happen is I need to add basically another movement, but I want to restrict this movement only in one direction. So let's go left stick here. So this one is kind of interesting. I haven't really figured out a good solution to this, especially because I really like having a follow camera. But it only really ends up working out great from one direction, as long as you're looking at your character's like front, right? Which you should be most of the time. So it's not like a deal breaker, but you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So right edge, left stick. So right edge is going to be on my right side. If I'm looking at the camera from me this way, I'm going to be moving actually left with my left stick. Well, that's like how I would approach the edge. So I don't want to actually be able to go that way. So when I move right stick, my character, I'm going to actually be able to move, and we're going to do a lot of the same modifiers that we did up here. So let me steal a couple of these so they're close within reach. Boop. And what we're going to say is we're going to move in direction, and this is going to actually be my character's left. Direction left. Okay. And when I hit my left edge, it's going to be the exact opposite. We're going to go left, and we're going to go right. It's a lot of like opposite direction kind of thing. So let's look and see what that looks like. Okay, into cover. And then what should happen is I'm no longer able to move along that. So my my right edge is now saying, yep. Now I can actually move the other direction though, because that movement evaluates back, like, is true. And I can get back now. Oh, I came out. So there we go. Oh, I'm coming out too much. Anyway.
I don't think you put with strafing.
Okay, I'll check that. So yeah, there might be a hiccup too between those two props if it like the raycast hits right between them. So let me check in here. Make sure I got my strafing. I think I do. Yeah.
Oh, move left and right only.
Oh, that's a good point. Yep, that's exactly what I need. Thank you, good sir.
I knew it was one of those two.
Boom. Okay. Because yeah, he would be orienting, and then as soon as he got the raycast off, he'd break cover.
Mm-hmm.
So now he'll stay. So you can see right there, there's that little point, and then he's able to hit it. So one thing is with the orbit camera, right? Technically, I can be over here and trying to do something, and it'll get weird. Like if I'm over here, right? And then for me, it would actually be the other stick.
Right, because you're using follow camera.
Yep. Yep. And it would it actually will try to like change the way that your stick is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that restricts his movement. So now let's look at what happens, how I get that peak around the corner. So when I'm here in these left edges now, and I'm like held there, right, because I know I'm on an edge, I can actually now take the camera and move it where I want to look. And I actually do that just by moving the position of this guy. And what we're going to do is, this is going to evaluate again when, there we go. So I want not left edge and not right edge. Okay. So that's what's going to happen there. Now, when I hit those, we're going to do
Don't you
something
need to say, like, say it's global player's left edge and global player's right edge because it's not a global variable?
Yeah. No, you're right. I was going to go back and add those. Dun, dun, dun. Wink, wink. No. Yeah, so you have global player left edge and global player right edge. And then what you're going to do is do some different things when you're actually on those edges. So I'm global player left edge, and we're going to do another one. First we'll add. So the peak I actually am controlling with left stick too. So it's like as I move, but I can't, but I keep holding the left stick, it'll actually move the camera. So I actually add left stick in here. I know some people don't like to add any controls to anything that's not a character. This would be, if I'm hitting my left edge, let's see, left edge here, that's going to be camera or direction right. We're going to do a couple things, and we're going to do a couple things if we go right edge and the other direction. Okay, cool. What are we going to do? We're going to actually move the position of this guy. So we're going to steal this. We're going to just use plus. Where is my right? Direction. Right. And my my forward is always going to be this guy actually can stay out. He doesn't need to be there. Because of that, I can actually just use right. I don't need to say like my players, whatever. And this, because I'm going, let's see, it's my left edge, so we actually want to go toward left. And this actually is going to happen after 1 second. And what we're going to do is kind of just have a transition. So we're going to move toward global players. Let's see, global player. And I like to, just so I can read this thing, throw some brackets around it. Okay, so we're going to move toward that. We're going to do this minimum distance 0. And we want to do this directly. And we want to do this, a lot of modifiers without direct acceleration. And strafing too. And left to right.
Keeping it constrained.
Yes, very much so. Okay. Same thing here, except we're going to be going player right. Should be all the same. And this should be right again. Okay. And let's see here. So this, when this is true, that's going to happen. And when this is true, okay. Let's see if I did that right. And let us go, let's turn this on so we can see what's happening. Oh, okay. So now when I get here, oh geez. Let me check real quick because he's doing something that I missed one thing on when he like gets stuck in here. So let me look at my example. Okay, I have some debug information on here. That's why you're seeing that. Okay, so here's that left edge. Objects only cover. Objects only cover. Doing all that the same. Left stick moving there. Move in direction left with strafing. So you have a lot more on here. Move in direction with strafing. I don't know why he's breaking it.
Wait, why do you have... When you're holding the left stick in the right direction, he moves left. Wouldn't that be the opposite?
It's the direction, right? So you're facing your camera. So like if you're looking at your character,
Oh, yeah, right. Because your character's
yeah, he'd
backwards.
move this way. Yeah.
It could have just been, as someone said in chat, it could have just been you moving the camera with your...
Yeah, it could be whatever. So regardless, let me see again. I don't want this to work. Okay. Yeah, I won't touch the right stick right now. So you can see how that peeks around the corner there, and then when I go back, I didn't put the nice transition. It moves like directly. Dun, dun, dun. And I need to make sure I evaluate. So that was a good example of as soon I need to go back here now and make sure that these, as soon as I go back to this page, both right edge and left edge turn off. False. And left edge, false as well. Okay, so that shouldn't happen anymore. And peek. Peek. And peek. Okay. And we'll clean that up on the exit with on here. So when I come back, or it's in the other brain. Oop.
Another good suggestion from chat is you could move, instead of moving in direction, you could move in the direction of the camera. So move in camera direction left, camera direction right.
But you would be able to change that. You're changing the camera.
Right.
So it would get really crazy as soon as you decide to orbit, like around it. Like look at the character, because you have a follow camera.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like follow cameras and cover systems don't like each other.
They don't at all, and I've been working very hard to try to do it, because it doesn't make sense to like lock the camera so strict. Like you should be able to like look around your character, at least for the like the type of like stuff I've been trying to do, right? Like any stealth game, right? Like is super about like the situation around you, and you have to be able to like spot stuff, right? Like obviously if you have your back against the wall, like you should be looking this way and like down a hall or whatever, but you have a whole room in front of you too that you kind of need to be keeping an eye out, like, you know, because a guard could be walking in that hall and everything like that. So you have to be sneaky, and you're on your personal account.
I don't know who that person is.
And what we'll do here too is we'll sneak global player center, and I think it doesn't like parentheses on that one. It does not. Okay, there we go. So now that should actually have a good exit. And okay, let me check this guy real quick. Move toward, minimum is 0. Same thing that I was doing there. Same thing I was doing there. Oh, let me make sure. I think I know one thing I didn't do. Oh, I did. Okay, good. I was assuming I forgot the global player on these two. Forward. Oh, that's right, and I have a distance difference. Let me make sure I put this guy evaluate at the end. Oops. Usually setting up for the camera or whatever, I like to do always have like the direction after everything like else, because it'll make sure it's set back. You want that to be like later code. He's not staying not all the time. He loses his edge. Oh, I wonder if it was something as simple as I think I know what I did. These guys right here, they're hitting my logic cube.
Oh.
So when I get there, they're evaluating like on my logic cube. I bet that was it. Okay, there you go. So that's like that. Why there's that little camera hiccup at the beginning, because it has 1 second to try to move into position before it locks or whatever to it. Nope. Does not like that edge. Anyway, so that is the general basis. I'm trying to think if I missed anything on.
Yeah, and you could, like, for instance, if you want to avoid that, you could instead set up a boom camera, and then a boom camera you could make it so it's always faced in one direction, so you don't have to worry about it.
I don't like boom cameras at all.
Oh, really?
They end up being way worse to deal with. Like, I'd choose a first-person camera, like, any day over a boom camera.
I'm actually starting to enjoy boom cameras the more you know how to use them.
Oh, yeah. Nope. I've done everything that I can to enjoy boom cameras, and they're the worst. Let me switch this guy out then. Okay. And we'll go back to my example here. Boom. Okay. So this one's a little bit closer camera. I have a minimum. It's actually, so the trick too for the follow camera, that allows you to get way closer distance-wise than you ever could with like a character having the follow camera. You can get like right up to him if you want with the follow camera, with it being the logic cube. You can get way like closer.
Oh, that's true.
So it's like a nice trick.
Boom camera also.
Whatever.
And welcome, Microsoft Cop. A Cameo in the Curse of the Castle is a great first game to play in Project Spark by...
His name is Microsoft Cop? That is awesome. Yeah.
See, I'm not alone. 2 other people in chat said they like boom cameras too.
Chat's biased. They're listening to that Doogie person and falling for it.
Well, if you, I mean, the great thing about boom cameras is you can reset their position after like something happens, so like it rotates back around to behind you at any given point. You can do nice things like that.
Yeah, you can set a follow camera though too. You have control of its pitch and everything.
Yeah, boom cameras you can just do. I don't know. I feel more freedom with a boom camera.
Oh, no way.
Nope. Follow camera is like a shoe. Boom camera is like a sandal. You get more freedom.
Whatever. No. So you're trying to say like well, I would argue that the follow camera is boxers, and then yeah. And then
the
boom
is camera is
briefs.
Commando.
I don't.
No. If you're going more for the more free analogy,
no.
Then they're the opposite direction. More free than boxers.
The opposite direction.
Okay.
Briefs. That's what boom cameras are compared to the more free boxers or Commando that is follow camera. So this guy doesn't have that same problem. So I probably missed a single line somewhere or something. But let us here. We'll just for chat, so you guys on the video, I'll real quick just go by like line so you can pause it. This is the one that I did with more time than live. Make sure I show this. I remember in one of the very first streams, or like, a stream from a long time ago, that they were like, oh, let us go through the code and show you, and they didn't scroll over on one of like the really long lines, and I was like, no, how did you do this? And let's see, forward equals that, and then, I set those there too. There you go.
Code looks good.
Yep.
Screen cap it.
Yep.
Take pics of that.
Screen cap. Here, and I'll do this little brain here real quick too. Dun, dun, dun. Cool. We have actually a little time. I thought of a tip and trick we could do.
Oh, okay. Well, we also have a few.
Yeah, let's do the announcements first.
Yeah, housekeeping items to take care of. Well, the most upcoming thing is the Creation Jam that ended on. I'm already forgetting the day.
June 21st.
21st, thank you.
Sunday.
Yeah, so the top 50 are going to be announced by the end of the day today. So really within a few hours, we'll have the top 50. Tomorrow, we're going to announce all the winners. We're going to do a special announcement stream. We'll put out more info on this, but we'll do a special announcement stream kind of later in the day than usual. At the same time, we'll put up the news about who the winners are. And that will be at 6 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow is where we'll do a quick 30-minute stream where we announce the top 10, talk through them, look at them, and celebrate them. This was the hardest of all things to judge. Like, you know,
things were so different.
Things, yeah.
Which is good. That's exactly what we want.
In other competitions, things were really close. In this one, they're just so vastly different that everybody had a hard time figuring what makes this better than that, and we think we approach it in the fairest way possible, but it was very
well.
hard.
I think it's ironic because I think with Creation Jam, or Community Game Jam, like we were like, oh man, these things are so wildly different, and it's really hard to judge. And then I think Creation Jam even pushed it like further.
Yeah,
because like we were like, okay,
so
avant-garde, oh, it's a huge theme, right? Like look
Yeah.
how crazy different people interpreted this.
And for
and
those
then
of you,
Creation Jam was like, blah.
for those of you who are already asleep by the time that we announce the winners tomorrow, then you get a little treat in the morning, or maybe you don't. But anyway, so look forward to that. We're gonna have the top 50 later today, so you can see who made the cut of the top 50, and then tomorrow you get to know the official overall winners. As most of you know, the winner gets to make a prop with us. Other piece of news is on Thursday we're releasing a new content pack. More info coming on that. It's called Void Corruptor. Some of you saw all the different contents of the pack in our stream on Thursday, and we'll be putting up a blog post later on this week. Put out the video on it, give the price, give all that stuff, and that will release at noon Pacific time on Thursday.
Boom.
Yeah.
Laying down the info. I like it.
Exactly. Hopefully that's, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that should cover everything.
More info on all these things.
Yep. Other than that, you want to do tip and trick?
Yeah, sure.
It's really, really fast. This is like going to be a minute. So let me jump here to edit. All right, so for a quick tip and trick, I wanted to show off deleting unused variables since it's a brand new feature, and I don't think people know how to, necessarily have discovered that yet on their own. So let me jump on here. Let's make this date clear. So let's go into this guy's brain. So the way it works is once you get on here and go to your, code picker tiles, you have all your values. We'll go to text. Oh, I didn't make a text one, I guess. Okay. Boolean, sure. So you'll see here that you have, when you go and select one, you'll have a more info and a grayed out or not grayed out option to delete tile. And that is basically a preview of can you not. So if I click X here on debug, it's going to say this tile cannot be deleted because it's in use, which is true. My other character is actually using this variable. In cover is something I decided not to end up using. So I can actually go on and hit delete. It'll give me a warning that I'm deleting this. No brains are referencing it. Are you sure you want to delete? Okay. Boom. And I deleted it, right?
Yeah.
Or no, I was in cover. I was like thinking I was deleting that one. Yep. So in cover is now gone.
So you can do that with every variable.
Yep. So it's not just booleans. I can go in and do those two I get used. I'm using that one. Here, let's just go in and say, Brian, I'm going to delete you out of existence. Equals.
And now you can get to your text.
Yep.
So go down to values, text.
Brian.
Or go into the text option.
I just have to delete it now. That works too.
Oh, I was going to show you how you can delete text too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's this guy. Oh, this is a variable.
Yeah.
I got you. So I can delete that way, but let's leave it there for Brian. Let's set him to something. Let's make Brian the text variable equal to actual string of text.
And now all that stuff you can delete. That's the thing that's the nicest for me because I can make typos now and not have a cluttered.
Yep. So Brian equals not cool, and then I can delete not cool. Let's say I had a change of heart and wanted to say he's super awesome. I go to text, find not cool in here, and delete this guy.
Yay, I'm
Yay.
cooler now.
I haven't not set what you are yet, sir. I would keep quiet until I just decide your fate. You are now at Wander.
Okay.
Nope, this will be at Wander will probably be one of the most deleted brains ones. You'll be able to delete like any of the ones that are like come into the world automatically, or go up through your old projects and delete all those crazy ones that you had like mistypes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So gonna be just way more easier to keep organized. Super glad we got that feature in.
Yeah, it was a top community request, so that's why we put it in.
Yep. All right. So that was your tip and trick.
Yeah. We'll be back on Thursday. In the meantime, or actually, we'll be back tomorrow for a special stream where we'll show off the Creation Jam. So in the meantime, stay classy, Sparkverse.
Stay classy. Bye, guys.
Create your game as you play? Any Spark can do it. Spark, activate the portals.